All right, everybody, welcome to our Amplified Solutions webinar focused on navigating your Ylopo system and how it works with Follow Up Boss. So pretty excited to dive in. We're going to give you guys a second to hop on, see the number going up. If you guys want to drop a quick note in the chat where you're joining us from, that's always awesome. I'm also going to be hanging. My name is Lee Adkins, and I'm here hanging with Bridget Ahern. What's going on, Bridget?
Hello, Lee.
You ready to rock?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Love talking systems.
Yeah, talking Ylopo. So, yeah, really excited to dive in. There's a couple of things I want to mention right up front. Number one, we are recording this session, and it will be sent out most likely today to everyone who's registered. So if you're watching live, awesome, you'll get it. If you registered and are not watching live, which means you won't be hearing this, you'll get the recording. So we're also going to share out a Ylopo guide that we're going to cover in this webinar session. But I wanted to mention right up front, we're not going to dive deeply into stars or Follow Up Boss. Our guide has videos and links to all of that good stuff. But we kind of feel like the minute we hop into that's a webinar in and of itself. So, and we may do some future webinars on those topics. If you love them, feel free to drop us a note in the chat if there's anything you want to focus on. Also, if you can, and you think of it, if you're going to ask a specific question, feel free to drop it in the Q&A, because that way it doesn't get lost in the chat with all the stuff there, but we'll roll with it either way. I also wanted to mention we have got Joey Ahern, our CEO, in the chat, as well as Sarah Da Silva, who is the VIP Client Success Manager Team Lead at Ylopo. So she can answer all your burning Ylopo questions, and we'll take it from there. So we'll dive right in. I wanted to cover real quick as well that our company actually provides some of these services around managing your Follow Up Boss and your Ylopo and all these things. Joey's going to drop a link in the chat to our website if you want to learn more. It's also linked in the guide. So we'd love to talk more if you're interested in seeing how we can help you manage new leads, existing leads, and keep your team accountable. So going to dive right in. Again, we'll share this link at the end to our guide, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and jump right in.
Let's do it.
So we've got our guide here for you guys. I want to take a quick look at the table of contents. I also want to mention, we know we have some people on that may not even be Ylopo users yet. This is a great way to understand the system. If you're considering it, it's an amazing system. We're about to show you all the pieces that it can do, all the great things it can do. And it integrates very beautifully with Follow Up Boss. So some of you may know me from the Follow Up Boss community and office hours there. We're really big fans of both these systems and how they work together. So up front, we're going to cover some things that anyone with a Ylopo account can do. If you're a user at a team or a brokerage, these are things that anyone can do. After that, we're going to get into some more admin level features, things to set up your account better, use your account better, generate more leads. Then we'll get into some specifics of Follow Up Boss and Ylopo, and then some general things, best practices. And at the end, we've also got a checklist that you can use. You can literally print it out and go through and say, hey, cool, I've done all these things. My Ylopo is looking good. So to begin at the beginning, Stars is the back end of Ylopo. It's essentially the place that you go to, as an admin, manage your account, see what's happening, see your spend, where it's going. You can do lots of other great things in there we'll get into. As an agent, typically you're going to access Stars through your Follow Up Boss link. There's a custom field in Follow Up Boss that has a link that if you click on it, it takes you directly to that client in Ylopo Stars. In Stars, you can start or stop a Raya conversation. You can take over as Raya. Be mindful, it's coming from the Raya number. So don't hop in and say, hey, this is Lee, because they think it's Raya or whatever you've named your Raya. But a lot of great things you can do in there. This video, I highly recommend. It's why we put it first. Shows you how to navigate that. You can do property alerts. There's a ton of things that you can do in that awesome Stars backend. Again, that interacts wholly with Follow Up Boss. So if it creates a priority alert, you'll get a tag. We'll get into all that. The Ylopo Open House tool is something I feel like I constantly talk to people about, and they're like, oh my goodness, this is awesome. We're not using this. So, Bridget, have you worked with the Open House tool a bit? Are you familiar? I mean, it's a great way to easily register your guests at an open house and get them into Follow Ups.
Yeah, a couple of people. I think it's super efficient, especially because it just gives you that QR code right there, and it's just kind of like a scan and go type situation. Nobody really has to fill anything out. They can do it kind of while they're going around the house and just fill it out, and then everything just goes right straight into Follow Up Boss. So it's really efficient. You can just do a little printout of it when people come in. They can take a screenshot, and it's I've seen a lot of success with it.
Yeah, it's great. We've also got in our checklist something cool you can do as well is apply an action plan automatically in Follow Up Boss.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to be able to send out like, hey, if you register, we'll send you the property disclosure. We'll send you a link to more info or whatever. It's a great way to leverage getting people to choose to sign in because they can get additional information. Really powerful tool. Again, anyone can do this. You'll see in this guide a lot of places. Actually, I don't have it here, but I think it's in this link. It's a public link. You go to your site, whatever your Ylopo site is, / I believe it's open-house. Correct me on that, Sarah, if I'm wrong. And it basically is a quick thing. You can put in the MLS number, you drop down which agent is hosting the open, and then boom, you've got your link. And that link has a QR code in it as well. So really powerful feature. Highly recommend using this. Another cool idea is you can use it for a virtual open house. You don't have to be sitting somewhere. You could post the registration link on social or the QR code out, let people do that so you capture their information. Then you can follow up with a pre-recorded video or offer to do a live tour or however you want to do it. But it's a really neat tool that I feel like often when I mention it to people, they're like, oh, we didn't know about that, or oh, we're not using that. So a really great thing. Again, there's a video here that walks you through doing it, how to use it, how it works. And we'll drop this guide in the chat when we are done with this session. The Ylopo heat map is also a really cool feature. It's essentially showing for, say, like a listing presentation, how many people you currently have in your database that are relevant to this seller. So you can go into a listing appointment with an actual document that says, I've got 300 people already in my database that are looking for a property like yours. Like that's a really powerful thing. You know, everybody goes into this appointment, it's like, oh, I've got buyers. But to show up with a map and a document that says, I've got people already interested in your home is a pretty big deal. And again, whatever your Ylopo site is, /heat map, and anyone can do this. If you're a user on a team or at a brokerage, you can absolutely do this. Included the Ylopo help desk article that has a really great video from Barry on how he uses it and how they implemented it at their company. The other thing I wanted to mention that I think gets left off these lists sometimes is all the awesome blog content that you've got already automatically through Ylopo. There's beautiful images. Bridget, I know you guys build these into some action plans. I know you've helped people send these out in email newsletters. Tell us a little more about how you've leveraged this content.
Yeah, so one of the huge benefits of the blog content that Ylopo provides is you can go and do searches for a type of blog based off of whatever action plan that you're trying to send out to people, whether it's buyers, sellers, converting renters to buyers. Excuse me. There's a bunch of really great content there. And if you just pop those into your action plans based on whatever audience you're trying to get to, that's going to bring them right to your site. So once they're there, they're reading the blog. There's so many other clickable options for them there to start browsing homes on your site, to start registering for things on your site, for you to kind of, provoke them to be like, hey, I saw that you were looking on the website. I saw that you looked at this house while you were on the website, and just really trying to engage with some of these people and using the blog content for that. So it's super beneficial. We love using them in action plans, just to drive those people to the website, essentially.
Yeah, and I want to mention this real quick too, because I think this isn't super intuitive to people. There are categories in there like seller, buyer, renter, maybe credit repair. There's a couple of categories in there automatically. And the cool thing is if you click on that category, it generates a permalink to that category. So if you want to send out an email that says, hey, here's some great info for buyers, that link is not only going to be evergreen, but it'll always have the most recent buyer content that's been added on your behalf. It's a really great tool to just push out a chunk of things. Again, you could potentially post it on social. Like there's a number of things you could do with that. And Bridget, tell us a little bit about I know you helped some people implement this into a newsletter as well, because the image is already, there's a beautiful image already provided. It's a really turnkey newsletter type thing.
Yeah, it's nice to, I mean, you want to keep your newsletters straight to the point, give them valuable content and everything. So as soon as you pop that in, and especially with MailChimp is mainly what I've used it with, you could just pop it in, you get a nice little card stock about what the blog content's about. And, same thing, it drives people right back to your website every single time that they click on it.
And then obviously if they take action, if you have Pixel installed, which you should, get to that in our checklist. It will, if depending on the level of activity they take, it should at worst put them in a recent activity smart list and potentially add them to a priority alert. So if they are saving a property or viewing a property, it'll add a priority alert as well. So just super smart to constantly drive traffic to your site, whether it's through blog content, driving them to the seller page, driving them, wherever you would like them to go on your website. So those are all things that anyone can do. Again, if you're on a team or wherever you are, you can do any of those things right now. No special permission, no anything to do. Diving into the admin level features, this is obviously more for the owner, or as it's called with Ylopo, the license holder. You can create a seller report. The cool thing about the seller report is that it's pretty similar to a heat map, but it's a little more listing presentation based. So that's a solid option. Again, we've got videos and articles on how to do that. Here's a great article from G with the video on how to do that. The cool thing about the reverse lookup, now you wouldn't want to share this with your clients. The reverse lookup is basically pulling the actual people in your database that are relevant to that person. So if you wanted to send, hey, I got a new listing, it includes the contact information, includes their Ylopo ID, it includes a lot of information, which is why it's admin only. But another really great feature to reverse prospect, push a new listing, definitely highly recommend that. So I don't want to breeze too much through Diva and Listing Rockets, but number one, I'd imagine a lot of people, if you're using it, you're already familiar. They're similar but different. They're cousins, maybe. Such an easy, fantastic way to run an ad to generate leads or to gain exposure for a listing. There's actually a button which you can select. Diva ads are a little more specific. They can be an MLS number, but there's also really cool seasonal ads. Happy New Year, things like that. They're in there automatically. And when you're doing the ad, and some of this is in the videos, you're able to select certain things, which template you want. I don't believe you can edit the messaging yet, but there are pieces of rumors that's coming. Sarah and Ryan also correct me in the chat if I'm wrong on that, if that's already here. But they're essentially a great way for you to easily run a Facebook ad or social ads to drive leads. The other cool thing is you can, and I don't see enough people do this, you can download that video and that content. So if you want to post it on your own social, you want to share it with your agents to post, you can download it as an actual video and use that for content. So I would highly recommend that. And a listing rocket is very similar, but it's really more specific to the property. You can run a new listing one. You can run a just sold. I think I got a list of all of them here. New listing, just sold, open house, or price reductions. So I wanted to mention this as well. technically you can put in any MLS number that's in your MLS and run an ad. But like everything else, and this is according to license law, but you would need permit. If it's not your listing, you would need permission. If you've got blanket permission from your broker to post any listing at your brokerage, great. But you would want to be sure to obtain permission to promote someone else's listing. There aren't a lot of agents that don't want help promoting their listings. Some don't like it. Maybe they think it makes them look bad, but just be careful to do that. And again, we've got a number of things here, several videos, and an overview of both of those. And again, these can only be done by an admin in Mission Control, which is the admin level version of Stars, essentially. Retargeting, we're going to get into a bit more later when we get into some tags. But retargeting, if in case you're not familiar, is essentially the idea that you can serve ads to people in your database. It's a pretty powerful tool, I think, versus just emailing them. You can actually serve ads to people in your database. And the DY in Diva is the dynamic. The amazing thing about Ylopo is it actually learns from what they're looking at, and it can serve them more relevant ads or more relevant listings to what they're actually looking at. So I wanted to cover the basics there. We're going to get into the tags that power that here in just a little bit. So Bridget, talk to me about Raya settings. It's funny, we deal with this almost all the time, especially with new clients. We're like, hey, what are your Raya settings? And they're like,
Great question. No, so Raya settings, you definitely want to talk to either your success manager about them or email support to ask them to send you your whitelisted and your blacklisted settings so that you know exactly who Raya is reaching out to, when she's reaching out to them, and why she's reaching out to them. Because a lot of people just don't know. They just are like, oh yeah, Raya's going to do her thing. But there are actual specific settings for her, whether you want it to be new leads coming in, whether you would prefer her to handle more of the nurturing type situation type of people. So it's always just important to kind of just be one step ahead and aware of who the automated AI is going to be reaching out to on your behalf.
Yeah, so, I think the biggest thing we see a lot, Bridget, is that people, and you have to kind of say this very specifically when you're looking at this, it's whitelisting stages versus blacklisting. Blacklisting obviously means don't contact these stages, but then that means all the other stages are contacted. So one of the things we see all the time is people add a new stage, they don't think about this, and it starts running on, like they add a new stage, it's like agents or Sphere or something they don't want Raya running on, but because of their settings. Now, to be fair, on older leads, Raya doesn't fire unless they take significant action. So it doesn't reach out like a new lead, but you definitely want to be mindful of this. Another example we see a lot is people that have an ISA. Maybe you don't want Raya running on your new leads. Maybe you have a human doing that. Maybe you want Raya running on your nurture stage. That could be, you would want to know that, and you would want to be in control of that. There's also hours. They are in your local time zone. Make sure your local time zone is correct. But you probably don't want Raya going off at 4 a.m. or on Christmas Day or anything like that. So in that same check, just make sure you check your hours and holiday schedule, and just make sure they're what you want. There's no right answer, but nobody wants a surprise like that. And again, these never really change over time. I think it's wise to just maybe once a year check on them. Did we add some new stages? Did we do this? Did something change? The other cool thing is your Ylopo monthly health report that you get by email has your Raya settings in there as well. So at worst, that should be a quick touch reminder of like, okay, they're right. Or, oh no, I need to check on them and make sure they're all the way right.
Yep.
So, and again, if you hopped on a little bit late, I just want to mention that we're trying to cover all the Ylopo tools, so we're not diving too deep, but every single one of these sections has a video on how to do this, a help desk article on how to do it. There's a lot of intel in this guide, which we will share out with you shortly.
Yes.
So HomeBot, I think a lot of people know HomeBot. HomeBot's a great valuation tool. It's integrated with Ylopo, and there's kind of two main ways to get people on this. One of the easy ways is just for them to go to your site. So you could actually include this in emails. It's whatever your Ylopo site is /home-valuation. And it basically is just a pretty short questionnaire they can fill out. I think it's address first and then some contact info. And then I think there's one more screen, maybe frequency. And then they're going to essentially get a monthly report on their home. Two really cool things that I love about HomeBot. Number one, the back end gives you intel on what's happening. Hey, this person opens this every time they get it. They're looking at it. The other cool thing about the system is that the client themselves can update it. They can add, oh no, we added granite countertops, or oh no, we've paid more than that on our mortgage, or whatever pieces that they want to. It also shows really cool things like how much could you get if you rented on Airbnb, or how much, if you wanted to rent this out, how much money could you make, in renting it out. So it's really great info that people like to engage with. I think that's a great way to do it. We've helped people set up action plans that even send this to people who are not already on it. Like, hey, we have this great tool. It's free. Click the link to, add yourself to it. You can also do what's called an import. And this is a real import. When we get into the retargeting stuff, it's not an actual physical import, but the instructions are here in this document. There's a specific format you need to be able to send to upload people. And then there's a couple of things on that form you'll need to fill out. I highly recommend doing it. There's definitely some steps to do it. But if you've got people in your system who are not on HomeBot, or if you've never done this, I would highly recommend kickstarting it with a bigger import, and then consider, or maybe your newsletter. I mean, Bridget, that'd be a great use, right? Pop at the bottom of your newsletter, want your home's value, want to see what you could rent for on Airbnb, like whatever that carrot is.
Yeah. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah. And then important to mention too, with your Ylopo system, you get essentially 1,000 contacts in HomeBot. Beyond that, there's a pretty nominal charge. I honestly don't remember it offhand. I think it's like $25 for every 500 or something. I mean, it's not big, but consider this. If you're a team lead or a broker owner, you may want to either put limits on this or say, hey, we're going to do this. If you're on a team, you might consult with your broker owner before you try to add a bunch of people to it. It's a very nominal cost, but just wanted to mention that before everybody goes and imports their entire follow-up boss into HomeBot. Yeah, little small detail. Nobody likes to get a surprise bill, but anyway, so now Follow Boss and Ylopo. Again, we mentioned at the top, the two systems interact really beautifully. You can use other CRMs. We're specialists in Follow Boss, so we're going to talk about Follow Boss. I would really encourage people to watch this video. It's more of an admin level because it's setting up your Follow Boss account. But things like moving your custom fields for stars to the top so they're easy to see. There's a couple other kind of general best practices in there. I'm also a fan, I know Bridget and I talk about this a lot, unchecking the hide if empty box.
Yeah.
Because if they don't have a stars link, that means they're not in Ylopo, and that might be your trigger to say, hey, we need to add this person to Ylopo, which is also covered in that video. But just wanted to mention that because I'm a big fan of getting those custom fields to the top. Those custom fields are global. So when you move them up, your entire company is going to see them. So just having that stars link at the top. There's some other great custom fields like number of logins, number of properties viewed. You can add those to smart lists. I know, Bridget, yeah, you guys have been doing that a lot, adding the columns to smart lists.
Yep.
So we can call people that have saved over 50 properties or.
Right. If they're looking at that many properties and they're saving them nonetheless, that's definitely somebody who needs to get a phone call so that they can go and see some of those properties.
Yes. Phone call. Thank you for reminding us that. That's still the ultimate goal, right? All this stuff is great.
Number one rule, pick up the phone.
Let's call them though. So speaking of, priority alerts are essentially a tag and a task that happen in Follow Up Boss that tell you this person has been active in some way. The tag will tell you, or the activity in Follow Up Boss will tell you what they're doing. The other best practice people don't realize a lot of times is Checking off the task and or removing the tag. I believe the task will remove the tag. Sometimes it takes a minute. It's not harmful if you do both. That's what takes them out of that Y priority smart list after you've contacted them. Mm-hmm. So contact them. If you get them and you can update their stage or you're working with them, remove the priority alert. If you need to remember, hey, tomorrow I want them to still be a priority alert, that's fine. But I just wanted to mention that they're designed to do that. There's also a HomeBot engage tag. This generally will all create a priority alert as well. But it's important to note that HomeBot engage tag means, hey, they're checking HomeBot. Maybe I should log into HomeBot and see what they're doing. Did they update it? Did they just look at it? Did they maybe forward it to somebody else and there's like 50 opens on it? Like, what's happening here? So really important things in follow boss to not miss, right? Like, I know there's a lot of stuff and sometimes people have a lot of people in their smart list and a lot of people in lead stage, but like the priority alert, you do not want to miss.
No, that and hand raisers too.
Right. Yes.
And then you kind of you said it, but like definitely making sure that you are deleting that tag after they come on the list, because that's what drives them. Because if they come back later and they already have that tag on them, then you're not going to be notified that they're a new hand raiser. But if you delete that tag, they can get re-tagged with it and let you know that that some of these people are re-engaging again at a later time.
Awesome. That's beautiful. And I forgot the hand raiser tag. So that's on me. I'll get it added.
There's a lot to it.
There's a lot of stuff.
That's why we're doing it.
We were daring to cover all of Ylopo in an hour, or technically 45 minutes with some questions. So, but I wanted to talk a bit about imports. Importing is essentially getting people into stars, so they have a stars link in Follow Up Boss. If they're Ylopo generated leads, they're always going to have a stars link. They're in Ylopo. This can do the retargeting. You can do the property alerts. That's all great. You can do this for your other leads as well, though. Mm-hmm. If you're generating leads from any other source, and we're going to go into a little bit of detail on this because I think this part is pretty important. And again, Bridget, we see so many people that don't have this, and you should have this if it's part of your strategy. You can apply a tag in the lead flow that's going to automatically add a stars link or import them into the Ylopo system. So now Araya can engage, you can use property alerts, you can do all kinds of great things there in stars. So if you want your Zillow Flex leads to be getting retargeting, or some other source of leads to be getting retargeting, or be able to be put on property alerts, or for Araya to work, you're going to need to apply some of these tags. And we've got them below. I want to mention this though, because this is super important. If you manually apply the tag to somebody as a one-off, it's only going to work within 48 hours of them coming into the system. If you do it 2 years later, it doesn't do anything. We're going to get into that in a second. This is why we like doing it in the lead flow.
Yeah.
Hoping that someone remembers to do it within 48 hours is not a good strategy. Bridget, I know you've done some of this. You want to tell us a little more about just kind of how the lead flow and Follow Boss works and the way to add a tag and an action plan?
Yeah, and that action plan, I like to do a couple of things for the new lead flow action plans right off the bat, the immediately ones, as far as tagging goes. Definitely getting the Y import one, and we'll get into a little bit more of the definitions about some of the different Y import settings, because some of them send welcome emails, some of them don't, some of them start sending priority or different alerts and stuff like that for people. And then some just kind of put it on your radar, and that person doesn't really know that they're necessarily in your Ylopo at that point. So it kind of is based off of what you're preferring at that point. But just the first thing that you do is you can add a tag in an action plan, boom, tag them this, automatically they're going to be getting that stars link in their profile in that custom field spot right there for you to be able to go send them listing alerts and all that good fun stuff. And then making sure tagging people, whether they're a buyer or a seller. Those are like my big two things, getting them on stars for Ylopo and letting you know what kind of person you're dealing with.
Yeah, that's great. And so if you're doing this in bulk, you can definitely do this in bulk. So if you go into your follow boss and you're like, oh my goodness, there's all these people that don't have stars links and none of this stuff is happening. You can very much do it in bulk. However, once you can apply the tags as well yourself, but you want to then email support and be super clear and just say, hey, I just added 1,000 Y underscore import underscore retargeting tags in our follow-up boss. Can you guys pull those in? Because they don't happen automatically after the 48 hours. Mm-hmm. So just want to be really, really clear about that. But highly recommend doing this. Again, if you need to catch up, awesome. Do this to catch up, then consider adding these to your action plan so that they work moving forward. And again, maybe you don't want them on every source. Like we get that. But again, that's where the follow boss lead flow allows you to control that for each lead flow, what is applied. So I wanted to dig into these, and I also want to be clear that some of these, I don't know if it's that they've changed over time or what it is exactly, but we definitely have some people where I see some different tags. Most of them are earlier users. So I mentioned here, you might just confirm with your success manager or support which is exactly the right tag. I can't guarantee you these are the right tags for you. One of the great things to do though is typically if it's already in your follow-up boss, it's the right tag. Just make sure you don't create one. Just don't start typing wide whatever and make a new one. Make sure you're selecting a tag that exists. And I wanted to be really clear about what these do, because the retargeting tag, there's no welcome email and no listing alerts. Typically, that's the one I recommend. Again, it depends on your strategy. This sends a welcome email. And again, if you're adding this to a bunch of like older leads or whatever, you may not want that. Like, hey, well, I've set up this great property search for you. Maybe like, who are you if you haven't called them in a long time? So it can be useful, but be mindful of that.
Sorry to interrupt you, Lee. Sarah did just mention here that at the moment, no welcome emails are going out. So
great.
I guess that's a new development.
I thought I saw that actually in the help desk thing. I wasn't sure how current it was.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you for that, Sarah. And then the other big thing I want to mention is that the listing alerts occur on your default settings. So I would also encourage you to be careful of this, because Bridget and I were talking about this the other day. Mm-hmm. You want to be careful if there's no criteria in the back end, because they may get, depending on how big your area is, they may get irrelevant listings. Yeah. So as much as it feels like an easy button to like, great, let's just put them on all property drips, you're going to be much better served by actually going through and seeing what they're looking at. And again, if they're Ylopo leads, they may be good to go on this. You can check it all in their stars link, but just wanted to mention with the default search, that's the case. It's your default search criteria, not their search criteria. So just be mindful. And then some general tags that are important. No text or no underscore text will stop Raya as long as that tag is applied. So if they're in a stage where Raya is supposed to run and you want to leave them in that stage, but you don't want them to get Raya, you can do this. We've done this in action plans for people before where they're just like, I just don't want my flex people to get Raya. A lot of cool ways you can use these. No email stops, any search alerts or anything again. And if you remove it, it does kick back in. And then no marketing is both. So, and then a deeper article on some of that stuff. So we're getting there. I appreciate you guys hanging in. I know we're covering a lot and we're high level and not like showing you how to do all this, but we're here to help. Yep. So you have a success manager at Ylopo. They are a tremendous resource for you. And they probably reach out to you all the time and say, hey, we can grab a call. Hey, here's my Calendly. Hey, here's your health report. It's really highly recommend leveraging your success manager. I mean, they know the system better than anybody. They understand real estate, like such a fantastic resource that's included with your Ylopo system. So we really recommend that. If you don't know who your success manager is, Number one, you could just probably search your email for at ylopo.com email address, but you can always hit up support, and they can certainly help you get connected and grab some time with your success manager. We mentioned this a little bit before, but the client health reports, you get a monthly client health report, a lot of good data in there, good things to check out. As we all know, the market, social media, everything changes all the time. So keeping an eye on this and making sure your spend makes sense, just making sure you're laying eyes on this is very, very smart. If you're doing pay-per-click, buyer or seller, you may additionally get a separate pay-per-click report that shows certain keywords, certain areas, cost per lead. There's a lot of great things in that. So you may additionally get a PPC report if you have a PPC spend. And then another thing that we really try to push pretty hard is this is a great, easy to use form when you add a new team member to get them all set up with their onboarding, get them on the website, get them added to stars, open house tool, all those things. So we've included a link to that. It's a really easy way. We have some clients that have their agents do it. It does ask for things like who is the license holder and where you're located. So if you're having the agents do it, make sure they know like license holder name. It's probably the team owner, but really good stuff there. We've also got a link to our onboarding template here, which is designed for you to be able to edit it yourself. Quick note up here on how to do that, to make your own copy. And this also includes that same link. So I just wanted to mention that really quickly. So we've also got a ton of links here. Ylopo has tons of webinars, office hours. I don't know if I have it here, but Ylopo/media. You can essentially ylopo.com/media. You can basically find everything. But the academy, there's new client office hours. There's regular Ylopo office hours. I included a link to my Follow Up Boss office hours, not so much Ylopo specific, but very specific to different parts of Follow Up Boss. And we also added Matt's link tree because it's awesome. There's like so many great tools here. It's really fantastic. So that digs in pretty deep as well. And I just also wanted to give a quick plug for my Follow Up Boss office hours. So, and then we've got links here. If you're interested in connecting with us, we've also got links here. You can grab a call with us or check out our site. And then last, but very much not least, and then if you guys have some questions, throw it to us. I know you guys have been answering some in the Q&A and chat for us as well. So thank you for that. We wanted to include a pretty simple checklist to help you kind of get started on some of these things. If you've done some of these already, that's great. But we wanted to make something really simple you could just print out and say, hey, I did this. Hey, I tested out open house, or we did this in a team meeting and now everybody knows how to do it. We know there's a lot of tools involved here and a lot of great things you can do, but we just wanted to give you a pretty simple kind of checklist here and reminders to check your lists, or some resources that you may want to bookmark. So Bridget, I know you work with a lot of Ylopo Follow Boss people. Anything else, any other thoughts, or just kind of overall best practices? And if you guys have questions, throw them in the Q&A or the chat. We'll definitely answer them live or via chat. But Bridget, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think really just kind of making sure some of those other types of lead flows that aren't directly from your branded website or from Ylopo itself, to try to get them on those stars links, just because there's so many different resources that you can still provide from Ylopo with types of people like that. And, just you don't know what you don't know. So kind of going in and exploring and seeing all of the resources and tools that you truly are provided with Ylopo, because I learn new things every single day. And this is the life that we live every single day. And there's just so much to it. I mean, I even just was exploring, the heat map earlier, not, the past couple of weeks, didn't know nearly enough about that. That is such a valuable tool that could be so important for other people to use too. It's just, there's really a lot of really great, valuable things. So really just getting in here and seeing all the things that you can do.
Yeah, and I agree with that so much, Bridget. It took me living in a lot of this space, certainly months, if not years, to even really start to understand, like, oh, cool, we could use this for this. We still think of ideas of like, oh, cool, we could use this in a buyer presentation, or we should put this in our listing presentation, or we should, oh, great, let's use this. Let's do a team training on this. Let's send this out to all our people. So I will drop a link. This link should work. If it doesn't, I will remedy that. But let me drop to everyone, not just the host and panelists, link to this guide. We'll also send this guide out with the recording. So as soon as this recording processes, again, which should be pretty quickly, I'll send a link out to the guide. Somebody click on that and make sure it's viewable. It should be. Just want to make sure. Sometimes Google gets funky with me. So awesome. All right, perfect. Good.
Ryan made a good point too. I don't know if everyone can see what he said, but just making sure that you're in the success community with Ylopo as well, because some of those groups, I learned so much in those too. Just people with different ideas and things that you don't even think about, and you're like, wow, that would actually really work for our team or the way that we do things.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just to reiterate some of your point, Bridget, like, if you really want to spend your Christmas break going over all this and doing all of that, awesome. Pick a thing, implement it. Do your first New Year's team training on, how to use the open house tool and use cases for that.
Yeah.
Baby steps. But yeah, and Sarah just dropped a note in too about the office hours. I can't stress enough how great office hours, both the new client office hours and the existing office hours, just fantastic tools. All the webinars are great. Also, if you're a current client, or maybe even if you're not, great session tomorrow. I believe it's called Coffee with the Founders. I need to find a link. Sarah, if you've got a handy link to it, we could drop it in. Awesome. Yeah, so that'll be a great session too. We're looking forward to catching that ourselves.
Yeah, excited about that one.
Yeah, appreciate you guys for being on. If you have further questions or anything, you can always reply to the record. Yeah, there we go. Y'all grab that link and sign up for that webinar. Bridget and I will definitely see you there.
Yep.
I'm sure Sarah and Ryan will be there as well. So really appreciate you guys. If you have other questions or whatnot, you can just reply to my email with the recording. And hopefully we'll see you guys again soon.
Thanks, everybody.